So from a Red Bull supporter to a Ferrari supporter, we're the only two teams that have picked up a win this year. How are you guys feeling? Are you guys excited for this episode?
Yeah, actually, I didn't think about that. That feels damn good, to be honest.
You guys excited for this episode? PT doesn't know what to say really.
No, I'm just keeping my mouth shut.
Okay, cool. Well, welcome back to Break at the Apex. I'm going to leave it just there. BT is shocked. He doesn't know what to say. He's not that excited apparently, and that's the episode done. So, there's nothing else to say. Good night. Cheers. Anyways, now let's get into it. We are here for the Singapore race Grand Prix. Yes, that one. The Singapore Grand Prix race. Cool. That's probably the better way to say it. And we are going to pick apart this race one by one, bit by bit. It's an absolutely, I'm not going to lie, it was an absolute cracker. So I'm really excited to get into this episode. Before we start, we're going to just jump into a few little memes just to get the juices flowing, get our laughing muscles ready, get our talking muscles ready, our jawlines ready, because we've got a lot of pointers to get through today. Cool.
Yeah.
So guys, are you ready to do this?
Absolutely.
Great stuff. Okay, so let's just start off with the obvious of science. The smoothest operation. The smoothest operation yet. So defend P1 by driving faster, and science is just like, no. I'm gonna drive slower, and that's how I'm gonna defend it. Which we'll get into it. Obviously, it's a pretty high IQ move. We'll get into it, but that was a good one. I enjoyed that one. Cool. Then we've got the best strategists, which is just a bunch of faces of Carlos Sainz, because
Facts.
pretty much. So listen, guys at home, if you enjoy these memes, let us know, and we'll put more of them in the coming episodes. And also, comment down below if you have any funny things you would like to add, or send us some things on Instagram, TikTok, and so on. Everything is in the link descriptions below. I said that right. Yes, everything is in the description below. So send us some funny things. We'd love to see them. Let's move on. Cool. The pyramid of intellect. We've got high school diploma, associate degree, bachelor's degree, master's degree, PhD. Carlos Sainz at the top. Yes, boy.
Yeah.
What a legend. What a legend. Cool. Moving away from Carlos Sainz. This is the only way we can stop the Red Bull dominance, and that's basically just to race at Singapore for every race. Kind of like a Macau movement, but we'll just do it like Singapore only. So I thought that was quite good. And then this one was quite brilliant. I thought this one was amazing. Max had the opportunity to do the funniest thing. As we all know, the cool down room is called the Max Podcast, because basically it's just Max in there every single week. But obviously, due to technical issues, the show was cancelled this week, and unfortunately, they weren't able to have the Max Podcast. But the good news is that we're here, so you guys can watch our podcast. It's much better, anyways. It's more fun, and there's less like bitching and moaning and the stuff that Formula One drivers tend to do, especially the champions. Anyways, move on to the next one. Verstappen didn't get any penalties in 3 investigations, no penalty, and then all the other teams penalty. Now, we will get into that. It was absolute highway robbery, but we'll get into that. Like a lot of these memes are going to lead to a conversation. I know we're all itching. We're looking at these memes and we're itching to say something, but we'll get into it in the race review. I promise. Yeah. Most of these memes will be covered in the race review. Not the meme itself, but just the... Yeah. Cool. And then we move over to the fastest Red Bull driver in Singapore, Liam Lawson. Yes. BT. I've been saying for months, Liam's the guy, and you could never understand what I was talking about. And you're finally starting to see it, pal. You're finally starting to see it. Cool. Some more Lawson. Kelly PK seeing Lawson out-qualify Max. Yes, I like it. First it was Kvyat.
This is my favorite. This is my favorite.
First it was Kvyat, then it was Max, and her next victim is Lawson.
Oh, yes.
I like this one. This one's also my favorite, to be honest with you. Cool, moving on.
Oh,
AlphaTauri has now more got. Jeez, like I didn't even say that right. AlphaTauri now has more points than drivers, which is. It's about time. I mean, we are more than halfway through the season. And then F1 app did Stroll dirty. Now, I don't know how clearly you guys can see it, but I'd like to see if you could spot what's going on here.
Oh my word.
Can you spot it, BT?
Yeah, I can.
So basically, Formula One decided that they were going to just leave Stroll's name out of the Aston Martin lineup, which I thought was quite interesting. When I saw this one, I thought this was quite brilliant. Cool.
Well, with how little he's been contributing to the Constructors' Championship tally, it's kind of it's a useful thing to do.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get back to normal and just a little bit of a fun thing with the memes. And honestly, if I'm gonna be very honest with you, I skipped this part in the introduction, but I'm gonna do it now. Please subscribe, guys. I really would really appreciate it if you subscribed, and Dirk would appreciate it, and BT would appreciate it. Because in South Africa we really need money. It's really difficult here. No, I'm joking. We don't need money. We're all pretty well off, and we all quite happy with our Boerboels and Rottweilers that we have to feed, and those kinds of things and so on. But it would be amazing anyways. We'd really appreciate it. If you're on Spotify, please pop us a great 5 stars. It would be highly appreciated, and it would be lovely to see. Okay, let's get into the race review. So I'm not gonna lie, we generally start off with the top 3. And what I'm thinking is, we should start off with the top 3. I know BT was thinking, what are you doing now? What are you doing now? Nah, okay, let's get into the top 3. This is going to be epic fun. I'm ready for this episode. And up until now, it's probably been a bit boring. But hey, guys, it is 10 o'clock at night, so it is what it is. Cool. Guys, I'm going to ask Dirk for you to start.
Okay. This was actually a hard top 3 to make, except for the first one, because, I mean, if you don't choose Carlos Sainz as number 1, the racing IQ that he performed this weekend was insane. So for me, it was definitely Sainz number 1. For me, actually, second is Lewis. I feel how Lewis's weekend went throughout practice and qualifying, and how he turned it around to end the race with, in my opinion, better pace than Russell. He just couldn't get past, and just how he crafted that race was so well done for me. Lewis really stood out for me. And third, it has to be the guy in only his third race, scoring points at probably the hardest track of the season. It has to be Liam Lawson. Liam just drove a phenomenal race in that absolute tractor of an AlphaTauri.
Nice. Okay. That's a nice little quick roundup. BT, can you give us your top 3, please?
Yeah, I think Carlos as well. If you don't have Carlos, then I don't know what you're watching.
Exactly.
That's probably number 1 for me as well. I chose Lawson second. I mean, he has grown on me. He's showing great pace. He's showing a bit of intelligence as well, same as Carlos. From my side, the way I'm looking at his driving style as well. And third, I said Russell instead of Hamilton.
Yeah.
And the reason why I'm saying Russell, because Russell was the faster Mercedes throughout the weekend.
Yeah.
Leave the part where they went for the second pit stop and Lewis did seem fast at that point.
Yeah.
But if they did do this, okay, they did have to do the second stop in order for them to challenge for the win. But I looked at it in a way where if they didn't do the second stop, I think Russell was still going to finish second, to be honest with you. And he was the fastest Mercedes in the race as well throughout the weekend. So besides
Okay.
the crash, of course, where he lost concentration at some point, but for me, this weekend he looked scary, and I said to Graham that he was looking super scary this weekend. I
Yeah.
thought in qualifying, I thought Russell was gonna take the pole from Carlos Sainz. To be honest with you,
Okay,
he was
cool.
really fast. Yeah, so that's
Okay,
my top three:
okay, cool. So your top three is just quick.
Sainz, Lawson, and Russell.
Okay, you're just gonna forget that the guy crashed on the last lap. I'm just
Yes,
asking. I'm just
yes, I am. Yep,
asking for a friend. You just
yep.
okay.
Definitely gonna. I'm
100%.
definitely gonna say that, and I have the explanation and even the
Yeah.
reason that I will forget
Right.
about it because he just lost concentration, and we all know
Yeah.
that is a long
Ah,
race.
I mean
That
it's a
is a
it's a
long
difficult
race,
track. It's
and
a difficult
you
track.
know,
I'll give it to them. It's a
yeah.
difficult track. Okay, cool. It's my turn. I'm gonna go for I'm gonna keep it pretty quick and simple. Sainz, Norris, Lawson. Um, Sainz number 1, Norris number 2, Lawson number 3. Um, funny enough, I told BT earlier. Funny enough, I did my top 3, and then I did all my notes, and then I went to go and watch the highlights for just to check that I've got everything. And funny enough, these are the 3 in order that were voted for driver of the day. So um, Sainz was voted driver of the day, and Norris was second, and Lawson was third based on percentages. So I was onto something there. I'm going to say quick one. Sainz needs no explanation. Obviously, we've all got him,
Yeah.
so we're quite happy with Sainz at number 1. So we're going to talk about 2 and 3. For me, Norris, the reason why Norris had to come through, he didn't start in second. He didn't start in second, right? No, he didn't. Leclerc started. No.
And yeah, Norris started P4
Yeah.
and he got jumped by someone at the start. He fell down to
Yeah, then he had
P5.
to come back up. He made his way through. He was extremely quick at times, and he was also quite risky. Had quite a few battles on track, even with Russell at the end, which was really close, and he held Russell off really well. I don't know. Norris to me just was outstanding, and then Lawson again. I don't think it needs much explanation. Both you and me, Dirk, have got Lawson at third, and BT, you've got Lawson at second. So I think there's no explanation required for him. Special mentions, Russell, besides the crash, had the better of Hamilton all weekend, was an amazing driver, had an amazing drive. Honestly, I don't think I've seen Russell so, I don't know what's the word.
Focus.
Like, well, clearly he wasn't focused, mate. He crashed, but uh, I don't know what the word. It's like I don't know if aggressive is the word or hungry is the word, but he just looked like he really wanted it. Like he really wanted it. And I don't think I've seen that in him for a while. So, Norris was a special mention. Ocon was a special mention before he obviously DNF'd. The man was driving like he was possessed, man. And I mean, he had some really good overtakes in that Alpine, was looking pretty solid under him. Gasly also didn't do too bad. And then the special mention that I'm going to name now, I honestly really wanted to put in my top 3, but I just wasn't sure how to fit him in, was Piastri. Because he started 17th and ended 7th. How? I don't know, but he did that. And this kid is one of the kids that have really impressed us all season long. So just a special mention to that. So anyways, let's get into it. So Sainz, we agree, is all number 1. So we'll move past that. Sainz gets 3 points. Well done, Sainz. Thank you for coming. You are more than welcome to leave now. Max can get back to winning ways next week. And then people aren't going to like that one. Cool. And then second, we've got Norris, Lawson, and Hamilton. Now, Dirk, and I don't know if you will agree with me, BT. I don't know if I can back Hamilton on this podium at all. I think he struggled this weekend, and although he pulled off a great result, I think he really got taken
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
I think to be honest, I think Hamilton's performance actually was quite good in the race because Mercedes had race pace in the race.
Yeah.
Um, and if we can actually watch the entire weekend, I do think that that car suited Russell this weekend. Like
Yeah.
Russell was so in sync with that car this weekend. It
Yeah.
was like,
That's true.
guys, I'm not a Russell fan. I don't really, I don't gush over him. I know he has potential, but he looked scary this weekend.
Yeah.
It was, whew, it was so scary how in sync he was in that race or
Yeah.
throughout the week. And it doesn't even, I'm not even shocked the fact that Lewis Hamilton was able to pull out something during the race. Lewis Hamilton's a 7-time world champion, gents. He's been racing for a long time.
Yeah.
He's
I know.
pretty much experienced by now. He's one of the greats. So I'm not that surprised that he pulled a rabbit out of a hat, if I can put it that way.
Yeah.
But
Hmm.
for Russell, he looked that him and that car looked like they were one person at some point, especially in
Yeah.
qualifying. It was really scary. So that's why I actually put Russell there. Despite the crash. We
Yeah.
all know what happened. He literally was following um, Norris gearbox at that point because Norris also touched the wall.
Yeah.
And Russell also touched the wall at the same time, but Russell was more aggressive actually by chasing
Yeah.
Norris. That when he touched the wall, the impact was too
Yeah.
too hard for him to actually control that car. So that's why I had to put Russell there
Yeah.
because I can't just overlook that performance. I cannot.
Okay. I'm gonna get into Russell just now. I can't agree with him being second, but I can consider Lawson being second. I think BT,
Yeah.
you had Lawson second. What's your thoughts, Dirk, on Lawson being the second best of the day?
Okay, look, Lawson is he had such a great performance. Honestly, for me, putting him second wouldn't be that bad. I just quickly want to defend my Hamilton point. The reason I put Lewis second in mine is the manner in which Lewis turned his weekend around. Like Russell was consistently, except for qualifying itself, over practice, Russell was literally half a second faster on average.
Yeah.
And then quali came, and I think the difference between the two of them was 3/10. And then for all of a sudden, as soon as the tire wear started really having an effect on the cars, Lewis was consistently faster than Russell.
Yeah.
And then when they strapped on that final set of medias that they had in their back pocket in that final stint, Lewis came out of the pit lane 5.8 seconds behind George. And by the time they caught Leclerc, Lewis was a second behind. And that was within a few laps. So Lewis is how he turned a weekend where he looked like he was kind of in the same boat as Max. And for him just to turn it around and actually also fight for the win, because any four of those cars could have won. For me, just the Lewis's experience and how he turned the weekend around for me is how it is. But I also do see your points, so I wouldn't be mad if Lewis is kicked off of the top three.
Yeah, I think the problem for me is that Russell had the better of him all weekend, and even in the race, at times, Lewis did look good, but Russell still kept it ahead. And if it weren't for Russell crashing, Russell would have beaten him. But, and there's the big but. The fact is, Russell did crash, and that to me is where I struggle to consider him in the top three. Now, are we going to agree that Lawson is the second best for the day?
Yeah, I'll go with that.
Cool. So now we're going to talk about the third best of the day, and this is where I would really consider a Norris or who was your third pick, Dirk?
So I put Lewis second and Lawson third. So basically,
okay, so we've all covered Lawson and Sainz. Okay, so we've got Sainz, Lawson, and then for third position it's Norris, Russell, or Hamilton was the other drivers. And now we've already discussed why we don't think that Hamilton should be on the podium. My reasoning for Russell not being on the podium is it's pretty simple, right? He did crash, regardless. And I just struggle to think that these are the 20 best drivers in the world. Well, the 19 best drivers in the world. We're not gonna. I mean, Sargent doesn't belong in that category. So basically, All I'm gonna say is at that caliber of that level of driver, that caliber that he's at, you want him to be able to handle that pressure. You want him to be able to attack and not make the mistakes. Yes, he's still young, but he's been there for a while, and he's supposed to be taking over as the lead driver. Now, do you want the lead driver to be Charles Leclerc, who is really, really quick, but often makes that mistake? And I'm not taking any shots at you guys or being Ferrari fans or whatever, but the point is, do you want your lead driver to be the driver that makes that mistake from time to time, that clips the wall from time to time, and then you lose all your points? At the end of the day, he lost 18 points for the team?
15 for P3.
Yeah, okay.
Unless he could have got Norris if you don't count the mistake. Because there still was an opportunity for him to overtake Lando.
Well, I'm pretty certain he was going to catch him eventually if he got through, because it would have been on the next DRS. He was closer than he had been previously. So he dropped at most 18, at least 15 points for the team. Because he was too focused on overtaking rather than maybe just waiting for the opportunity to bring itself to him, and rather just keeping focused. I think in this certain instance, you'll find a driver like Lewis, for example, who's probably, if not he is the most consistent driver ever, most likely, if you want to call it that. And I don't see him making that mistake, because I see him as the person that would have rather just stayed there in third position, bided his time. If the opportunity presented himself, he would have taken it. And if it didn't, he would have stayed in third and he would have gathered the good points. And I think that Russell needs to still learn that part. Maybe he'll learn after this weekend, but that's my reason. That's my reason why I can't put him on this podium.
Yeah, I do understand, but don't you think that maybe McLaren need to be safe in terms of where they are in the constructors, in terms of points? And Mercedes is second in the constructors, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And Lewis Hamilton has consistently been in the points, right?
Yeah.
He's third in the drivers' championship, if not mistaken. And
he might be
Mercedes
first today. I don't know. We'll check just now.
Yeah, or fourth. I don't know.
No, you'll be third or fourth. Yeah, he's third or fourth. Yeah.
Yeah, and Mercedes is second on the constructors table, right? So the way I looked at it is that, yeah, you're right. He focused too much on getting the win, which is nothing wrong with that. He's a Formula One driver. They all want to win. So I think Mercedes, the way they saw that crash was, we can afford to lose 18 points because we're second in the champions in the constructors championship. So we can afford to lose those points because we still will be second after this weekend, and Hamilton will still get points for us. So when I look at that crash, it's not a crash where it actually was bad for the actual team itself, because they're still ahead of Ferrari in terms of construction, point in terms of points. So the way I looked at it is that Russell took a chance. He had to make a decision. It's either he's going for the points for the team, or he wants the win for himself so he can add to his own catalog in terms of being a two-time race winner. And I think Mercedes allowed him to go for that race, seeing where they are in terms of the constructors. If they were behind Aston Martin or behind Ferrari, I think the strategy would actually be changed at that point. Like, look, Russell, we tried, just take the car home. But they didn't mention that during the race. So that's the way I saw it, where Norris was quite happy with it. I mean, I'm not saying that the McLaren were faster than the Ferraris, but it looks like Norris was just happy that both of the cars made it to the points. Their points tally is going up as the season goes. They're nearly catching Aston Martin at the moment. So just the way I looked at it, and that's all. But you know,
I can't say Norris was happy being second. He just didn't really have much of a choice, really. But in any case, look, I've given my say, you've given your say. I'm not going to spend too much time on this, Dirk. You can give your say on.
Dirk is the decider.
Yeah, you can decide either Norris or Russell based on what. Yeah, based on what we have said, you can decide Norris or Russell. Who do you think should be in that third place?
Okay, I'll keep mine short and sweet, Graham, because I know you want to move on. So
Don't worry about me, mate. Just share your stuff.
between Russell and Norris and BT, I know we agree a lot, but unfortunately, I think it's the second time we're going to disagree. I'd have to go with Lando. Okay,
Thank you.
but just hear me out. I get both of your points. And I mean, even Crofty mentioned it during commentary. Mercedes literally, they're in no man's land in the constructors. They had nothing to lose and they wanted the win. End of story. Whatever it takes, they wanted the win. And Russell took that definitely more to heart than Lewis. And I honestly can't say you can put the accident 100% on Russell because Norris literally nipped the wall ahead of him. And Russell was busy getting back into Norris's slipstream as they headed into the corner. If Norris never clipped that wall, I don't think George would have. But Graham, to tell why I'm mentioning Norris, but why I'm choosing Norris, besides the fact that between the Ferrari, the McLaren, and the Mercedes, the McLaren of the three was the slightly slower one. Norris drove a brilliant race, and his defense on that, I think it was the fourth to last lap against Russell was brilliant.
Yeah.
But what gives it to Norris completely is mistakes that Russell made. If it happened early in the race, it can be a little bit more forgivable for me, but it literally happened with less than 2 miles to go on the literal last lap. And yes, again, I understand you wanted to go for it. You know, the first place, he can see first place over Lando's wing. Second place is there. All the points is there. And he's just as hungry as Lando and Carlos.
Yeah.
But that mistake on the very last lap, in a team like Mercedes, at the point where they are now, where they're really struggling, I don't think that is the best way to show it. And for that reason and how consistent Lando drove, I'm going to have to give it to Lando for our third place in our top three, for me personally.
All right. Okay, cool. So we're going 3 points for Sainz. 2 points for Lawson. I don't even have Lawson's name on here, or Ricardo's, to be honest.
Yeah.
Okay, so Lawson gets 2 points, and then 1 point for good old Lando Norris. Sorry. Thank you. I'll be here all weekend, mostly on Thursdays. Generally are my good days. So if you want to see the comedy show, please join on Thursday. Anyways, cool. So that's top 3 done. We're gonna get straight into the race review. I won't lie, that top 3 was a bit longer than I expected it to be, but it was great fun. I enjoy arguing with all of you guys. I enjoy arguing with BT a lot, really, to be honest. But now that Dirk, now that you've joined us, I'll enjoy arguing with you too. It's good fun. Anyways, let's get straight into the race review, and we're going to get into the really, really fun stuff. I'm not gonna lie, this is the moment I've been really waiting all day for. Oh, I can't believe we're actually here. So we're gonna start off with the 1 sentence race caption, and again, I'm gonna give it away to you guys, and I will start from right to left on my screen, which is again Dirk. Let's start with you. What is your 1 sentence race caption?
200 IQ plays from Carlos Sainz.
Speaks for itself.
What did you say? What did you say? What did you say? What's the sentence?
200 IQ plays from Carlos Sainz.
Dirk is excited, eh? Jeez.
Yeah, no, jeez.
Okay, I know it's very much a gaming thing to use, but it just fitted for me so perfectly because for me, for the last decade that I've been watching Formula One, I've never seen such a risky but perfectly planned strategy from a driver alone to win a race. I mean, Ferrari literally told him, Norris, 0.8, Norris 0.8 where he's got DRS. Yeah, I know, it's on purpose. He literally carried that race by himself.
But
Ferrari didn't know what he was doing until he
what
did
I
it.
love,
And
sorry to break you there. What I really loved about that radio was just 2 seconds later, copy, and then that was that end of conversation. Nothing happened. It was like copy, okay, copy. Anyway, sorry, carry on there.
So, but look, Carlos isn't the youngest on the grid, but he is still part of the younger group of drivers. Yeah. And to have the maturity that he did in that race and to keep the cool head that he did, especially those last 10 laps where there were 3 cars wanting to take the win from him. Yeah. And his teammate was no longer active to support him when the Mercs got past. This was by far Carlos Sainz's best Grand Prix drive ever, his best performance. Yeah. And I've never seen such an incredible way of defending a first position and doing it successfully, balancing Norris's distance to him in the DRS, but still giving him DRS so that the Mercs couldn't pass. That is such fine lines. In the game, it's easy to do that. You can do that easily. But to do that in reality at 200 miles an hour on public streets where the wall is a few centimeters from you, that it just blew my mind. And Carlos, I'm speechless for most of what he did this weekend. It was insane.
I have to agree. But we'll get into that with the race review. So let's not spoil it too much. We've got loads of topics to get through, especially on the Ferrari side. My Ferrari list is yay long, which is quite long.
We're happy for you. We are happy for you. Wow. Great.
I feel like BT's being a bit rude now, and I don't appreciate the rudeness. Anyways, BT, give us your 1-sentence race caption, please.
Oh, sorry, man. I forget sometimes you're so sensitive. Anyway, look, that's quite an interesting take there, and as Grant said, we will talk about it later. My one was really long, and it was something that I thought it literally just came to me after an hour or so. So my one said, Red Bull's lack of performance might have saved the season. That is mine. And when I say, I'm sure all of us are pretty tired of watching Red Bull win races. I'm sure Netflix was really happy that Ferrari won a race and they broke the winning streak. So that was quite a special moment for the season. I'm sure most people that are not into F1 and were just watching F1 for the fun of it actually stopped watching F1 because they knew Max will win every race. But Singapore actually showed another, can I say another ball game or another situation where the Red Bull just could not start going at Singapore. Yeah. And it was just deja vu when Mercedes in 2015 when they had that dominant car and Ferrari was on point that whole weekend. And I know Sebastian Vettel won that race, if I'm not mistaken. So it was just a repeat of that. That's my race captain.
Cool. Okay, so I like that one. I'm not gonna lie. That one's a little bit more out of the box because mine is quite similar to Dirk's. I like your one specifically because it's accurate. It's very accurate, and I don't mean I mean all of ours are accurate. But what I mean is just for Carlos Sainz to have done what he did, Red Bull needed to have a stinker, which they did.
Exactly.
And it started there. And that excited everybody. I can almost assure you, all Red Bull fans loved this race. I can assure it. I can assure you. Because even Red Bull fans were being like, listen, we love Max, we love Red Bull, but like, come on, it's a bit dud. Like, we can't be watching we don't even get to watch him race really because he's just 30 seconds ahead of everybody. Anyways, my 1-sentence race caption is, like in boxing, when you send somebody out, you say their real name and then their nickname and then their surname. So it's like that.
Yeah.
Cool. So mine is Carlos Einstein High IQ Science is what my 1-sentence race caption is. And I'm not gonna give any explanation because it speaks for itself. And Dirk, you've already explained the whole high IQ part of it. So we're gonna get straight into the race review. And look, I mean, we might as well just start with Ferrari because why not? It was. I mean, they at least deserve. They deserve for us to start with them. So I'm gonna ask this question, guys, and I want you to really think about this for a second. And I don't want to be that guy that sort of jumps the gun and starts saying ridiculous things. Like, my name's not Helmut Marko and so on. Like, I'm not going to start saying ridiculous things like Max is going to put a Haas on pole, because clearly, I mean, he couldn't put a Red Bull on pole, so I don't know how he was going to put a Haas on pole. Anyways, I'm not going to say anything ridiculous. But I do want to ask a question that I've genuinely thought about today, and I was thinking about more my time watching F1. Have you ever seen such an have you ever seen such a high have you ever seen such a high IQ win before? And let me explain what I mean. I've watched F1 for a very long time. I've seen some very high IQ racing, high IQ driving, especially from guys like Alonso, Schumacher. Those guys have extremely high IQs, and they think very differently while they're going 300 kilometers an hour. But I've never seen somebody win by literally slowing down and allowing the second position guy to get the DRS in order for him to win. Like, the thought process going through his mind at that time when he decided to do that. And also the balls he must have had knowing that Norris wasn't going to actually pass him. He literally had to keep that gap into a position where it's like, okay, he'll get DRS, but he just won't have enough. He must have known that he was quicker than Norris in most of the other sectors to be able to pull away again after he caught up. So, I mean, again, I'm going to ask that question. Have you ever seen a high IQ win like this one?
No, not at all.
No, no, and yes, no. Reason why is because I know Hamilton tried the same tactic in 2016. I don't know if he won that race against Rosberg, where he wanted the other guys to be close to Rosberg. Because I remember Rosberg had to finish within the points or finish second or third to win the championship, if I'm not mistaken.
I think it was Abu Dhabi, right at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it was the same thing.
Yeah.
But Hamilton did try to do the same thing by actually slowing the traffic down so the other guys can catch up to Rosberg or something like that.
Yeah.
But what Carlos Sainz done was amazing. I've never seen it before.
I think it's a slightly different way of.
We have to go watch maybe what Alan Prost was like, maybe when he's
the professor,
high IQ driver. 100%. But what Sainz done, I mean, guys, it's phenomenal. I'm not gonna lie to you. Sainz done something that Leclerc could never do in 11 years. I'm gonna say that now. He done something that I don't think Leclerc could ever do that. If Leclerc was in that car and he was going through that race, I don't think Leclerc will be able to think of stuff like that. I think Leclerc will be asking the team about strategies more than actually doing his own strategy.
Yeah.
To be honest with you. Yeah, it's amazing.
It's amazing. Cool. And then I've got to say, I don't know who wants to take a stab at this, but we have possibly got some new subscribers or new watchers, maybe people who don't understand F1 as much. Maybe we'll clip this, so in less than a minute, preferably if you can. Just explain exactly what Sainz did. What did he do? What did he do? Jeez, like it. What did he do? What did he do that was so significant? And why is this such a high IQ thing? And I want one of you to just, in less than a minute, just explain to anybody new. Go for it. Go for it.
What made this such a high IQ play is the fact that Carlos Sainz was willing to risk himself being overtaken by the other driver who also wants to lead. Nobody can tell me Lando didn't want to win as well that bad. Is the thing that made this so incredible is the fact that he put himself in danger, but kept the danger on such a fine balance to make sure that the two cars coming from behind that are much faster than them could not pass the car in between. Well, the car in between, so they couldn't get to Carlos. He literally used Norris as a shield. lose the win. And
Essentially,
that balance of 8/10 of a second is literally like a trapeze artist trying to do trapeze, but he's drunk. It's an extremely,
Yeah.
it's an incredible skill. And Carlos, literally,
Yeah.
I've never seen anyone do that. Something like that. Incredible.
I mean, just to add on, Dirk, on that, the most important thing as well for people that don't really understand Formula One is also about strategy. So in terms of, I'm not going to be too corporate when I say this, he could forecast what's going to happen in the race. So you could see different scenarios of what will happen.
Yeah.
I'm sure he thought what was going to happen if the two Mercedes actually pit and go for the second stop, that they will be coming back to hunt him down. And he could understand where his tires were and when to push and when not to push and when to use Norris as a shield. He kept all those weapons and used them at the right time. And that's how we got.
Okay, cool. And then if I can just add my 2 cents, he did all of that whilst driving 300 kilometers an hour. Just to put that into perspective, the significance is also the fact that he thought of all of that while driving a ridiculous fast speed. So it was just an incredible thing. I don't think we should go on too much about it because there is a lot to get through today. But honestly, well done to Sainz. He's definitely coming into his own, and I've got to say something to you two Ferrari supporters. It's 2 races or 3 races in a row now that Sainz has shown that he's your number 1 driver. He is. He might not be faster than Leclerc at most races, but he's definitely grabbing a hold of that car right now, and he's showing Leclerc up. And you can shake your head, BT.
I disagree. I strongly disagree.
You can shake your head, BT. But if you consider if you can shake your head, but you can't tell me I'm wrong, because when your own team uses Leclerc as a sacrificial lamb, no, let me finish. When your own team decides to use Leclerc as a sacrificial lamb, that tells me that they've already decided that Sainz is their new number 1 driver.
I disagree with you. Not gonna lie.
I'm not surprised, but go on.
You know why? And I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying too soon. That's what I'm saying. There's one more year. They're both of them are teammates.
Yeah.
Do you know how I'm reviewing this? Leclerc was better last year. Sainz is better this season. They have one more season together, and that's next year.
So
next year will determine.
So it's a 1-1 draw now. What's a 1-1 draw?
Yes.
Okay.
If I'm wrong, you are Ferrari fan. If I'm wrong by saying that, please tell me.
Yeah.
But the way I'm looking at it, we can't jump the gun just now. Okay. A year ago, we were saying the club was the better driver because the car suited him. This time, Sainz and that car in sync. Leclerc is not doing a bad job.
Am I?
It's just that he's still making those iffy mistakes, like the mistake he made when he almost ran into Norris. That's why he dropped in place.
Am I not right in saying that Sainz beat Leclerc in the first year that he was with Ferrari?
That is true. Sainz beat Leclerc in 2021. He beat Leclerc in 2021.
So technically, it's 1-1.
That's what I'm saying, that we can only judge it in terms of what you say. I'm not saying you're wrong.
No, what I mean is it's 1-1, and this year is the decider year because it's 1-1. Because 2021 was Sainz, 2022 was Leclerc.
It could be 2-2 next year. Who knows?
Yeah. No. Okay. On a serious note, I obviously was trying to rile you up, and it worked clearly. But on a serious note, though, what I am trying to say here is basically, Sainz is on that level. He is on a level that I didn't think he was. I've always liked him. I've always liked Sainz. You know, I've always sung his praises, but I never thought he was. I mean, I've told you before, he's like Bottas to me. He's literally the perfect number 2 driver, but he's showing a different side of him now. And maybe all he needed was a car that suited him better. I don't know. Anyways, I'm gonna ask you guys. First of all, I'm gonna say one thing about Ferrari. Everything worked. Great pit stops, an amazing double stack, which Ferrari never get right. I'm surprised they actually had tires available for that double stack, but they did, and it worked.
No.
They brought the tires, they brought the jacks, and as a bonus, even the mechanics were present for the double stack, which was amazing. So honestly, well done to Ferrari on that. I'm gonna leave you guys with one more question about Ferrari, and then you guys can have your say if there's anything else that you would like. One question about Ferrari, and this is where it could get a little juicy. I'm very, very curious to hear. Leclerc, the sacrificial lamb, should he have accepted that?
Go ahead.
Okay. First of all, Graham, thank you for the constant emotional damage of reminding us about Ferrari's crappy pit stops. And I'm gonna have nightmares tonight again, and I can't sleep, but it's all good. Okay.
Sorry.
First of all, for me personally, the only way Carlos Sainz won that race was if Leclerc was sacrificed, or if Leclerc jumped Sainz at the beginning of the race. The only way Ferrari was winning that race was if one of the drivers got sacrificed, and unfortunately, Leclerc was the one to be sacrificed. And I mean, even though Leclerc's pit stop took long, it wasn't Ferrari or Leclerc's fault. They literally had to hold him to not give him an unsafe release.
Yeah.
And to also pull along the previous point that I just want to mention as well, I don't agree, but also don't disagree with both of you. It is too soon for me to say Carlos is officially the number one driver. It is really, I mean, before 3 races ago, Leclerc was very much the quicker driver. And even these weekends where Sainz has beaten Leclerc, Zandvoort, yes, Sainz really embarrassed Leclerc. But Monza, they were close in qualifying, they were close in the race. And I mean, this weekend in Singapore, the difference between Sainz, Russell, and Leclerc was less than 800ths of a second. Yeah. That's 0.08. They were still close. And Leclerc was only so far behind because he had to be the sacrifice this weekend. Leclerc is still doing a good job. But I feel if Sainz does to Leclerc from Zandvoort basically to the end of the season, what Leclerc did to him at the beginning of the season, then there's definitely a topic to talk about who can be first and second driver.
Yeah.
But currently, Sainz is outperforming Leclerc, and it's not wrong to see him as Ferrari's current number one because he is outperforming Leclerc. And nobody ever thought someone would be able to outperform Leclerc in a Ferrari. They both said that car doesn't suit them, but it seems to me Sainz has figured out the car quicker than Leclerc.
Can I just, BT, before you give me an answer, I just want to say one thing on Leclerc here, and I could be wrong here, but I personally don't feel that Leclerc is a polished diamond. I feel like he's been a rough diamond for way too long now. But he hasn't been polished correctly. I don't think he's been nurtured into that perfect driver. I still think he has much more potential than Sainz does. I think what we've seen is Sainz's best. This is Sainz's best.
Ooh.
I think what we've seen is Sainz's best, but Leclerc, I still think can be polished more, which tells me that Leclerc will still be a much better driver moving forward. I'm gonna say this again. I've sung. You can ask BT. I sing Sainz's praises all the time, but there's one thing that I can't be delusional about, and that is, as a raw product, Leclerc is naturally gifted, and I just think with a little bit more polishing, he could be the answer to Ferrari. Anyways, I just wanted to add that. BT, should Leclerc have accepted being the sacrificial lamb?
I'm not going to be too long as well, and I do agree with what you just said about Leclerc, Graham. Exactly what I've been thinking about as well. Okay. Anyway, my question is, on top of that question, is that did he have a choice though? Yeah. Did he have a choice to say yes or no? Was he aware that he was going to be sacrificed? Because I remember after the pit stop, he did actually talk to the team and ask them, like, what's happening? Why was the pit stop so slow? So that kind of showed me that he wasn't quite aware what was happening, it was quite funny. Yeah. But I think as the race went, he kind of saw what was happening and he accepted it. Yeah. He had to be a team player.
Yeah. 100%.
Unfortunately. that race was a race where Leclerc had to be unselfish and had to step aside and let science take control of everything. Unfortunately, so that's just the way I looked at it. It wasn't a bad thing or anything like that, because I'm sure Ferrari just wanted
100%. 100%.
They didn't care who was going to win the race. If it was Leclerc was going to win the race. If it was Sainz was going to win the race. I think Ferrari's strategy was on that.
Yeah, just win the race. Whoever's who's ever in the front, win the race. Yeah.
And they had to continue the culture of actually being the team that actually wins the race after the dominant team actually has a horrible weekend. Because they were the guys that won the first race of the season for those McLaren years in the 80s and 90s. So they continued with the same tradition by actually winning a race where a certain car or manufacturer was dominant.
Well, Sainz said it quite well at the end. He said that what impressed him the most is that they had one opportunity to get a win this year, and the team all came together and made it happen. So I've got to give Ferrari a round of applause for that, because we know this team to bottle almost everything that they've come across, and I don't mean that disrespectfully. It's just that's just how it's been this year. But when as soon as they had the opportunity to pull off a win, they really, really did the best that they could have, and it worked. So well done to them.
Yeah.
Yep.
Another question I have is that if Ferrari actually pitted Leclerc when the Mercedes were pitting, do you think Leclerc was going to go for that win, or was going to go for Norris?
Absolutely for the
win. Do you think Ferrari had the pace to do what Mercedes done by chasing those guys down? Do you think Leclerc? So listen, I think Ferrari made I can't say it's a good decision and a bad decision. I was also quite confused, but I understood later in the race why they did it. But I continued asking myself that question. I asked myself that question when Mercedes put it. Leclerc wanted to put as well. So I asked myself, why didn't Ferrari actually put Leclerc? Leclerc had there was quite a gap between him and Verstappen, if I'm not mistaken. There was a pitting section where you could actually go for it, but actually come out in front of Verstappen still, and actually still chase the Mercedes down, and maybe chase Norris. Because I know I'm rambling, but I think Ferrari, the strategy was so open for them. They had options to choose. They had an option to choose to put Leclerc chase down the Mercedes, maybe go past both of them, maybe go past Norris, and maybe do team orders afterwards and tell Leclerc, you stay behind, you protect side.
100%.
They had that option as well, and they chose the more safer option and just continued using him as sacrifice, basically. Because we knew that when the Mercedes got to Leclerc, I wasn't expecting Leclerc to defend that position. His tires were way off. So, that's just the question I had on my side. That's what I was watching the race, after the race, actually.
Okay, cool. Yes, you are rambling, so thank you for stopping. I appreciate it. No.
Pleasure.
No, I'm just joking. I love you, BT. I really do. I really, really do. Honestly, with all my heart. Anyways, I've got to touch on what you've said now. I've got to just add one thing. I do recall that he had a pit stop in hand on Max, but I also don't think that the Red Bull performance was actually all that bad in the race, considering Max did finish fifth and Max almost got to Leclerc on the line at the end. So had Leclerc made that pit, it could have meant that Max was also in the frame at that point or later in the race, because Max caught him eventually. I think it was on the last lap. Max was not that far behind.
4 tenths.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So, I am ready to move on while we're talking about Max to Red Bull. Are you guys happy to move on? Dirk, got anything to add?
Yeah, let's move on
Let's
to the
move on.
scrap
It's all
team.
good.
Let's go.
Cool.
Yeah, the losers.
I've got to say, as a Red Bull supporter, as a Max fan, or whatever you want to call it, I just I struggle to understand people, man. Like I really struggle to understand people. This kid has he's literally taken his talents and he's created an absolute monster of himself, right? But the world just hate this kid, man. They just hate him so much. Like he complains about something on the radio and they just ridicule him. But like every driver complains. So why is it that they have a go at Max every time? Like Max is the only one that complains on the radio. I just don't get it. You know, after the race or after qualifying, he was laughing with Lando about everything. Even Lando said Max was laughing about how bad his car was this weekend. Like, he was so gracious in his defeat. He really was gracious in his defeat, which you don't see from a lot of other champions, if you want to put it that way. So from a Red Bull supporter, I've got to say to all the haters and all the Mercedes haters and so on, I'm sure he's on his bed crying with $1 million in his hand at the moment, because I really don't think he cares too much. But at the same time, stop hating, stop being so sour, man. It's just one weekend, you'll be back winning next week again. Anyways, let's move on to the talking points, the real talking points, and not the fanboy ramble points. Anyways, what's going on with those penalties, guys? What's going on? Does Red Bull have some kind of... Okay, I'm gonna say something way off. I'm gonna say something ridiculous now, and I hope this gets clipped because we've seen a lot of teams in the past have these deals with FIA, and I've got to ask, does Red Bull and FIA have something going on? Because I'm pretty certain that Max impeded it was pretty evident. I'm also pretty certain that Perez literally just wiped Albon off the road, like completely, and Yuki, to be fair. So I just want to know, how did these two get away with murder this weekend? What's going on? Where were those penalties?
Go, Dirk.
Okay, Graham, honestly, I'm not the one for my tinfoil hat conspiracy theories. But there has been, and again, neither a Max or a Lewis fan. I'm just using it as an example before Team LH and Team Orange, the Orange Army come knock at my door tomorrow night at midnight. But even back to Abu Dhabi 2021, there, for me personally, has been a significant favorance towards Max. I'm not saying Lewis got it worse back then, but I'm talking about situations where it's as bright as daylight that Red Bull make a mistake and they don't get the slap on the wrist that they deserve. Besides Max blocking Yuki in Q2, he blocked someone else in Q1. Yeah. And then start of Q2, he literally sat in the pit lane for nearly 30 seconds. And a lot of people said, no, the car just went into anti-stall. The car didn't go into anti-stall. Max literally sat there and waited. And it's literally in the rules and regulations that the pit lane is not allowed to be blocked unless it's because of an actual accident. The pit lane needs to be a constant flowing system. It needs to be like basically a slow pokes highway. Yeah. Not the point. For me, like I said, I'm not the tinfoil hat conspiracy theory type. But there is something fishy when it comes to the FIA and Red Bull. Perez murdered Albon and Tsunoda's race. Max impeded two people and held up the pit lane, and nothing came of it. But also, to add on, the FIA was a bit lackluster this weekend, but because besides Red Bull, there were a few other drivers and a few other teams that did some sketchy stuff that never was reprimanded. Me as a Ferrari fan, how did Leclerc with the initial safety car go from 4.5 seconds behind Sainz to when they enter the pits to be 8 seconds behind Sainz. You're not allowed to go that slow, even under safety car conditions. You're not allowed to hold up the rest of the grid.
Yes.
There's a lot of stuff like this that happened throughout the weekend that was sketchy. And then I just feel the FIA decided, you know what? Max is going to lose in any case. Let's just take a Hawaii weekend while they race in Singapore. Yeah. It's all good. But for me personally, Graham, to answer your question, there is something fishy, but I'm not a conspiracy theorist. But there is something definitely fishy with the Red Bull and the FIA.
Cool.
I mean, look, there is something fishy, of course.
These are the takes that I need, guys. Come, bring them coming. These are the clips. These are the viral moments.
I think the FIA just left it because they saw Red Bull's performance in the weekend. They were like, "What's the point?" To be honest with you, and I'm going to actually also answer it from a marketing point of view. Guys, Max is the most or one of the biggest cash cows for Formula One.
Yeah,
especially for the US market.
Yeah,
I watch a lot. Besides Formula One, I love Formula One. But Graham knows I watch a lot of US sports. I watch a lot of NFL. I watch a lot of basketball, and I see how those leagues are ran. Those leagues are star orientated.
Yeah,
and that's what Formula One is doing, trying to do. They have the star thing going on.
Yeah,
you've seen the change, how they do the post race interviews and all that stuff. Everything has changed.
Yeah.
So I think for them now, it's like, oh, it's Max, and they're not looking good this weekend. So we're not going to really pay attention to his penalties. He already came out of Q2, and we're already going to see him overtaking cars during the race.
Yeah.
That's going to be entertainment for the people that's going to watch the race. So let's just leave it. Instead of him starting at 15 after the penalties, let him start at 11 and just work himself up the grid, because the car is not performing for this season. Sorry, for this race. That's the way I saw it. But Dirk, you spot on that.
Yeah, all the other reason is that they just thought that nobody would notice. Anyways, let's move on.
And no one did. I mean, no one noticed that Stroll didn't start the race. That was the most funniest thing ever. But anyway,
that's actually true. That is actually
we're gonna get to that. We're gonna get to that. I have got one more thing to say about Red Bull. This is something that I somehow knew about, or I thought about, and then I saw it on TikTok of someone called Coffee Corner, Terry's Coffee Corner, who is an extremely, extremely insightful content creator. If you guys are into F1 stuff, go and follow him. He's extremely insightful. And he made a good point about why Red Bull struggled this weekend. And if I'm really honest with you, it is something that I had already... I read about it, to be honest. I actually read about it, and from there I thought, okay, it kind of makes sense. One of the reasons why it was one of the possible reasons why Red Bull lacked so much performance is ride height. And it's very similar to Ferrari. So if you remember last year, Ferrari were doing extremely well until they changed the rules. And the rules meant that Ferrari had to lift their ride height, and all of a sudden their car just wasn't the same. Now in Singapore, because because of the drains and the elevated streets, because it's a street track and so on, they would have had to lift their ride. You know, in Singapore, there's always a lot of sparks, more than usual. And if they didn't lift their ride height, they would have worn out their plank, which obviously is not ideal. You know, the center plank that goes underneath the car, the plank that sparks. So obviously they had to lift up the ride height, and so that didn't work. Obviously, like, it's the one thing that they had to change, and they changed it, and it's obviously affected that car dramatically. And if you look at all the detail at the bottom of their car, I think their car requires them to be slightly lower because it sucks that air through. But if there's too much space between the car and the floor, then there's no suction because there's a lot more free flow. Which means that maybe their car doesn't work well with the free flow. They need that car to suck the air like it usually does.
So are you saying that they might struggle in Las Vegas?
So I'm saying, yeah. So what I'm thinking is, look, naturally there is not many. There's maybe one or two tracks during the year that this is actually a necessity for them to put their ride height higher. This was one of them. Um, if there's another race, it could possibly be Vegas, but we're not sure because we've never really been there, so we don't really know. We don't really know what is required. Like, are they going to have to increase the up their ride height or not? We don't know, but it is a possibility. Um, with that being said, um, at the end of the day, guys, next week they're back winning again. It's probably not going to change anything. Max is still winning the championship. Red Bull are still wrapping up the constructors in a couple races time. So
Not next weekend. They could have done it this weekend if they had a 1-4.
yeah,
So next weekend they're taking the,
yeah,
the
but they have
constructors.
to be like 40 points ahead of Mercedes. But now obviously Mercedes has taken a bit of points out of them, so it might be a bit more now. So it might,
So it might be
yeah,
like
so
a
it might be 2 or 3 races from now, mathematically, if you think about it mathematically. So anyways, that is it for Red Bull. So if any of you were interested as to why Red Bull's performance was low, perhaps that is something to think about. Whether it's true or not, I don't really know, but um my logical thinking and my technical understanding of F1, it makes a lot of sense. Terry is also an extremely credible source. So if he thinks about that, and I mean, if he thinks that as well, then I'm very inclined to believe it. So that is it on Red Bull. Let's get into Mercedes now. I'm not gonna lie. I don't have a lot to say about Mercedes. I know they're probably the quickest car on the weekend, in my opinion, possibly.
Yeah.
Um, I've just written here. Merck turned up, but they just didn't have enough. And it's funny because Russell just had one of the best weekends that I've seen in him ever. If I'm really honest with you. He really looked like hungry. He looked aggressive. He looked really on it. And part of it was because he had the car to do it, and that car,
Yeah.
they just turned up. Now, how they didn't get, I think this is more of a testament to how well Ferrari did, because I don't think Ferrari had the better car, in my honest opinion. I think Mercedes had the better car, the faster car.
Yeah.
Whether
Yeah,
that's
definitely.
whether that's just race pace or whether that is race pace and qualifying, I don't really know, but they definitely had a better car than Ferrari. And yeah, I don't have much more to say about Mercedes. So the only question I have for you guys is, should they have called off Lewis at the end of the race, and said give Russell space? Because I feel like he was attacking Russell as well. And it looked like at times Russell had to look behind him and in front of him. And that also really could shake a lot. Now you think I spoke about it in top 3 where I said the fact is Russell did crash. Alright. My question is, did he crash because he was too focused on Norris, or did he crash because he was focused on Norris, but he also had to worry about being passed by his teammate behind? Do you think it would have made a difference if the team said to Lewis, give him his moment, just bide your time, stay where you are, let him go for it? Because he was pretty close to George himself. So I'll leave that question with you guys. And if you have anything else to add about Mercedes, please feel free. Dirk, you can go first.
For me personally, I don't, and I know this is going to be controversial. I don't think it would have made a difference if Mercedes called off Lewis. Lewis isn't known as a driver to go for insanely risky moves, especially on his teammate. Driving against another team, a little bit of a different story, but Lewis has always had very much mutual respect for his teammate. And Lewis understands that first rule in racing of don't take out your teammate.
Except for Rosberg.
Okay, yeah, Rosberg is
sorry,
another kettle of fish. I almost said something that would demonetize us on YouTube. Not the point. The thing for me is, Lewis, yes, he pulled out of the slipstream and had a look, but he never went for a lunge.
Yeah.
I think honestly, Lewis wanted to be as close as possible for if Russell and Norris got to a certain stage of the battle and there was an open door to try and go for the move. I mean, he tried a double overtake early in the race that almost worked for him.
Yeah.
When they were busy passing the Red Bulls and everything.
Yeah.
After the first sequence of pit stops. I don't think it would have made a difference. I think Russell was overly focused on Norris, in my personal opinion.
Yeah.
No slander towards him. He's a brilliant driver. But for me personally, I don't think it would have made a difference. And more on Mercedes, Graham, your point, I reiterated, Merckx showed up.
Yeah.
And they showed up well.
Yeah.
And we saw this weekend what Russell can do when he has a car that works for him and that he's comfortable.
And one with side pods. Oh, sorry. Okay. Carry on, BT.
Yeah, no, both of you guys are right. I mean, yeah, for me, Russell showed up. I mean, I'm sure Lewis Hamilton is looking at him in a different way, just a bit, quite impressed besides the crash. Mercedes had the race pace, but in terms of qualifying one lap pace, I think Ferrari was on the edge in terms of that. I think Ferrari was faster in one lap situation. That's why I think Sainz got that pole. Even though Mercedes was looking quite scary, especially Russell in qualifying. But in terms of race pace, and the guys that done the post qualifying show as well did mention that Mercedes will be fast in the race, and that's exactly what happened. So besides Russell's crash in the last lap, they had a fantastic weekend. They were faster. And it kind of shows that in Las Vegas as well, another street circuit, they will be fast there. So that's another circuit or race that we're quite looking forward to, because we know that the race pace for them, and they might win that race if Red Bull has the problems they had in Singapore. And in terms of Hamilton saved his weekend, as Dirk said earlier on, and that's what true champions do. They save their weekend and they maximize where they can. Yeah. So in terms of Mercedes weekend strategy, drivers, the car itself, everything was spot on. Everything worked perfectly. Yeah, that's what I have to say.
100%. Okay. So that's Mercedes in the bag. And we'll move on to McLaren next, who again they also just brought a good car.
My favorite team. He's so happy. He's so happy. Look at him. Oh, McLaren. They're doing so well. Look at them. Look at him. He's so happy. You can see like Graham. Graham doesn't know yet. He doesn't know if he's a Red Bull fan or he's a McLaren fan yet. He's still checking up. You know what, Dirk? You know what Graham is doing? Graham is so Red Bull is the girl that he has chose to be with.
Mm-hmm.
But McLaren is that girl that he truly loves and wants to be with, but she's still in the streets. She's still in the streets. So he's like he's still waiting on is she gonna change? Is she gonna be wifey material at some point? You see your grandpa anyway. Go on.
First of all, I come from KwaZulu-Natal. That means I'm a Zulu.
Oh, wow.
That means that I'm a Zulu by heart, and I'm allowed more than one wife. So with that being said, I'm allowed to support two teams, and I have supported both of them. So
can I ask you one question about the Zulus? I'm not Zulu, I'm Xhosa. Can I ask you one question about the Zulus just to see that you were really born in KwaZulu-Natal?
Okay.
What did Shaka Zulu do? Right, it's not a joke. It's a fact. I actually read about it. What did Shaka Zulu do when one of his wives got pregnant and it was a boy instead of a girl?
Killed them, I don't know.
Well done. You're actually a Zulu. Well done. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of him. He
I
actually
know,
did. He
but
killed all the
yeah,
signs
but okay,
because he was uh,
I won't lie. I guessed
yeah.
that, but I only guessed it. Uh, the only the only reason why I guessed that specific thing is because I know he did do some dodgy things like that. Anyways, let's get back onto let's get back onto F1. Thanks for the history lesson, guys, and really appreciate. Those of you who are still watching, after an hour and 15 minutes of BT rambling, the history lesson was just for you guys. So really appreciate you guys being here, and I hope you learned something about Shaka Zulu. Anyways, if you don't know who Shaka Zulu is, please Google it, because I just don't have the time to go through that right now.
That's not what we're here for. We don't do African history. We're here for Formula One content.
Yeah, this is a Formula One podcast, not a Shaka Zulu podcast or a African history. Anyways, McLaren. Okay, McLaren. Let's get back onto McLaren, guys. So, okay. The thing with McLaren, right? The thing with McLaren is Norris. Norris is it's a tough cookie for me. It's a tough one because you know what, Norris, he's always seems to be there. If he's got the car, he's there. But the funny thing is, how many times has this guy come second? When is he gonna finally get to actually winning? Do you know what I mean? Like, how many times is he gonna come second? Like, he's really good, and I still think he's one for the future. But he really needs to get that win under his belt because he really needs to show that he is that one for the future. You know what I mean? If that makes sense. So I really think that he needs to get that going. But I've got one question for you on McLaren. And then I've got one thing that I'll say afterwards. That one question to you guys is: new structures that were put in place on McLaren, are they finally reaping its reward? Are we going to see McLaren continue to grow from here? Or do we see next year Mercedes get back and McLaren just fall apart? There have been new structures put in place, structures we've never really seen within a team before. Obviously, the way they've restructured is now they've got technical directors, and like they've got a head of this and a head of that. Instead of having like the one technical director, they've got like three, but just in different spaces. Do you think it's working? Have we been harsh on Zach Brown, and should we have given him time? Is things looking better? What's the scope on McLaren? What are we expecting from McLaren moving forward? BT, I think you can go first this time.
Yeah, go BT.
I think they're doing something right there. I think McLaren himself or Zach Brown hired the right people. And they remember when McLaren done the deal with Honda, I think the spotlight was on them for them to perform now and show results now because of the relationship they had with Honda, and they won championships with Honda. But in this situation, the spotlight is not on them a lot, so they have time to actually work on the car, make the right decisions, and actually just swiftly move along during the season and just surprise us here and there. So I think in that they're not the team that are focused on a lot, because we know that's taken by Ferrari, it's taken by Mercedes, it's taken by Red Bull. And what's the nice thing about them now is that they can continue working on their car and building that car further in a very less less focused area when they are the media and all the people are focused on that team. I think that's why everything is going well. And I think Zach Brown also has got his grip on the team as well, and everything just going through seamlessly. And they're quite confident with the drivers now, because they got the second driver, which is now for sure now they can focus on the car. Because nothing against Ricardo or anything like that. I'm sure they were sure that they have the drivers with Ricardo, and now into his own thing in terms of his performance and his form as well. But Piastri just got into the team, blended the team, adapted, showed that he's naturally gifted or naturally talented,
Yeah.
And Piastri allowed Norris to be the number one driver. He gets it.
Yeah.
You understand? Because he's new, he's a rookie.
Yeah.
And that's a good foundation. There's a
Yeah.
number one driver, number two driver. They can continue working on the car, and the results are showing. So
Yeah.
that's basically what I'm happy about. Is that the team is in sync at the moment. They have chemistry. There's no distractions
Yeah.
anymore. The media is not on top of them most of the time, and they could just continue doing their thing on the side. And just occasionally, in some circuits, they will surprise us. Yeah, that's all. You can go.
Cool. Dirk, before you go, can I please ask you to clip that? That was the most intelligent thing that BT has ever said. So please
Wow.
clip that. From the start, it was a bit long. I was hoping he was going to keep it within a minute because that would have been an amazing clip for YouTube. But I don't know if he's capable of doing that. But if you can please clip that, I'd really appreciate it. By the way, McLaren, just saying. Anyways, Dirk, you go. The people at home have no idea what I've just done, but I just want to let you know this is a green screen, but it's not green, it's orange. Okay, sorry. Go. It's papaya. Okay, sorry. Go. Sorry, Dirk. Go. Sorry.
Okay, so I'm gonna keep it very short and sweet. Personally, I still feel Zach Brown is not the right team principal for the team.
Well, he's not the team principal
or CEO of McLaren.
Okay.
There's many reasons. I don't agree with his hiring. He has made some good choices, but for me personally, he's made more bad choices. But McLaren have potential. They've always had potential, especially now with Piastri instead of Ricciardo. I know that's harsh, but Piastri is a damn talented young man, and I'm going to get to a very controversial point that we can leave for our wonderful viewers. There's potential. The foundation of the car is good. The regs aren't changing next year. McLaren need to. They've got the momentum now, and I agree with BT. The fact that there's not so much more attention on them anymore. They've got their freedom. They've got their privacy. They need to use this now. But personally, leadership-wise, I don't feel Zach Brown will be there. But I hope the guy proves me wrong, because besides Ferrari, McLaren is my second favorite team as well. So I've got a soft spot for McLaren. But here's my controversial point.
They're not my second favorite team. They are joined with my favorite. They join.
Wow. McLaren's such a sexy lady, eh? Even Dirk is attractive.
Bro, McLaren is beautiful, man. And you know what, Bruce? She wears this papaya dress, bro. And it suits her skin tone and everything. Okay, sorry, Dirk. Please go.
Still not the Ferrari. In any case, my controversial point, and you guys don't have to answer this. I would like our viewers to do this one, but very controversial point, and you don't have to agree with me. But I've followed Oscar Piastri's career very vividly because I've got a soft spot for the guy. Oscar Piastri, with the right car, is the next Lewis Hamilton or Max Verstappen, and he is better than Norris, in my personal opinion.
Yeah. So I'm not gonna lie, like that one hits hard because I really love Norris. But you know, they say, what's that saying? Truth hurts. The fact that Piastri is so close to Norris in his rookie year. Norris has been in that car for quite a few years now. He knows that car in and out. So for a rookie driver to be so close to him, you can only imagine in a year or two from now, when he gets a little bit more closer to the team, closer to the car, a little bit more of a relationship going with both the car and the team. Maybe he's given the car a name by then. You know, who knows what he's done. But you can only imagine that it's upwards from here for him. And he's phenomenal. Honestly, he's phenomenal. I'm gonna say this. Piastri was stealthy this weekend.
Oh yeah.
See what I did there?
Most underrated performance of the weekend.
But did you see what I did there though? Mm-hmm. What did they call their livery this week? Huh? They called it the McLaren stealth mode. Didn't you see their new Didn't you see?
Yeah, well done. I'll give that to you. Well done.
BT is so confused. Didn't you see that a new livery, BT? It was just black and orange, black and papaya. They took off.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, they took off and they called it Stealth. So
Oh, that's cool. That's a cool name, though. Jeez.
yeah, and I know, and Piastri lived up to it because I don't think the camera saw him once, but he popped up in 7th at the end of the race. He started 17th.
Gaining 10 positions around Singapore.
True, exactly my point. That's one of the hardest tracks. Oak just decided that he was going to jump 10 oaks. I mean, what? Anyways, by the way, he beat Perez, didn't he?
Yeah, I did.
Exactly.
He did.
Exactly. He jumped the entire field and the best car on the grid. Anyways, it wasn't the best car in Singapore, but it's the best car on the grid. That's all people need to know. Okay, cool. So, anybody else have anything to add on my Papaya Heroes? Because they really did have a great weekend.
I just need to move closer to my charger, but I'm not gonna. I'm gonna leave it like this.
Okay.
Sorry, guys.
Okay.
Alright.
Graham, next point. Let's go.
Okay, cool. So BT is moving shop, and now I can only see his mouth, which I mean it's not that sexy, but okay. Anyways, let's move on while he gets himself ready. Nah, guys, come on. Let's. You see now you've making me work now because now I've got to go and beep it. Yes, these extras give me work. Anyways, gents, let's move over quickly to Aston Martin. This is going to be a very quick one for me. I've got one thing to say and then I've got one question to ask. The theme of this weekend is quite nice. I like this. The whole I say one thing and then I ask you guys a question and you run. I like it. We're going to carry on with that. Anyways, by the way, any questions that I ask you guys at home, leave your thoughts in the comments to any question that I ask. It would be nice to know what you guys think. I'm asking these questions to these two knobheads, but they don't really know much about F1. So if you guys at home think you know more about F1, please leave your comments. I'm really interested to know what you guys think of the questions that I ask. Because I generally think that they decent questions and it's good conversations, and we will respond below. Anyways, Aston Martin, guys, let's get into Aston Martin. One thing, I'm gonna say one thing. I cannot defend Stroll any longer. I'm gonna leave that there. For those of you who know, I have always said Stroll was a very underrated driver, and to my point, or to my how do I say it? In all fairness to me and my point, he has been up until now. He's been a driver that has never struggled to get points. He's never struggled to do something with a car that's been given to him. But this year he just definitely seems to struggle. And we've said this before. Whether it's got to do with his hurt sore wrists or not, who knows? But I can't defend the guy anymore. He's useless. That's all I'm gonna say. Anyways, let me ask you guys the question that I have. Aston Martin all around just had an absolutely dismal week. Alonso even made mistakes. It was just absolutely dismal for them. I've got to ask one question. When you are a top car, what do you call it? The top tier car. When you are a Formula 1 car that is in the top 3 or 4 best cars, you bottle the race, you end up at the back. You've got 15 laps to go. Why continue? Why don't you just pack it up for the day and reserve time on your engine?
Go there.
Sorry, BT, I'm being sorry, but I have to answer this, and I'm going to keep it quick, I promise.
Yeah.
Graham, that is literally what I almost screamed out loud at a stage. Why waste the engine and the gearbox when you know you're not going to get points anymore?
Exactly.
You know it's hard to overtake. Your car is a tractor that weekend.
Yeah.
You've already made mistakes. Save the car. Save yourself from further embarrassment. And I mean, you guys know, I am absolutely Alonso nuts. Alonso is my hero. But this has been the worst performance he's not just had this year. This has been the worst performance he's had in years. And Graham, thank you for finally seeing the light, knowing that Stroll is actually worse than Logan Sargent. And
no. Whoa. Hold on. Whoa. Don't. Wait, hang on. No, listen. I don't want to get rude. No, listen. Let's. Sergeant. No, okay. Listen. Carry on. Just carry on. Carry on.
We'll talk about that in private. In any case, it is honestly just Aston Martin had a very crappy weekend, and they are losing the developmental race very quickly. And if they don't figure something out very quick, or just completely sag this year's cars and go to next, they're gonna have a problem.
Yeah.
We know they don't have the facilities are busy being built. They don't have it yet, but something is not clicking right now, and they need to get to the source of it and figure it out.
Yeah. So my only thing, sorry, BT, before you go, my only thing, and for those of you at home who are wondering why I'm asking this question, the only reason why I'm asking this question is when you are a back market team, your mentality is anything can happen. So you stay in a race because if there's a carnage that happens and it takes out 6 cars, you can get points. But when you are a team with a top tier car, come next race, you pretty much in the fight for another podium or another win or whatever. So reserve your engine because you're going to need, as you wear down your engine gets slower. It loses performance. So reserve the engine and go and fight the next race. We've seen it this weekend with Red Bull. Red Bull still gained, Max still came fifth, guys. He still came fifth. He still had a great race. Still got really good points. So he didn't have to obviously pack it up. But if Red Bull had to, if something happened and Verstappen ended at the back, I'm sure they would have packed it up because at the end of the day, they could use that performance in the next race. Clearly, the car wasn't working on the weekend. We've seen it. Okay, it could be the same thing with Aston Martin. Their car clearly just something wasn't working. So pack it up and reserve that reliability of the car in the window that it's in for a race where you can pick up your podiums and your wins, because we know that car is capable. Well, we know that Alonso is capable in that car. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
So that's the reason I asked the question, and that is my sort of mentality behind it. BT, if you want to give us your thoughts, we'd be happy to hear.
Yeah, both of you guys are on point. Like, yeah, why bother? But let's remember that these guys were not supposed to be where they are. To be honest with you, no, I think no one thought that Aston Martin would be
very true
third on the construction table. But come on, guys, no one thought about that, and it was their first horrible weekend besides Stroll. But for Alonso, it was the first horrible race for that side of the garage.
Yeah.
So if they did pack it up, if they didn't, it makes no difference.
Yeah.
Hopefully they learned for the future, particularly in that track where they are at the moment, where their car is at the moment, what to do in that circumstance. But I do understand where you guys going. So for them, it's like a lesson learned type of vibe.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any difference if they stayed in the race or if they packed it up. Stroll didn't start.
Yeah.
Stroll didn't start. But they already did do that by packing up for Stroll already in that side of the garage. But it kind of shows how they feel that they're so lucky to have Alonso.
Yeah.
That Alonso can actually turn around a horrible weekend and make it into something. I think their thought process was that maybe within the race, but certain things happened, and Alonso did make certain mistakes. Because before the 5-second penalty, Alonso was 8th, 9th, 7th at some point. So they were in the points. You know? But it just happened that Alonso got that 5-second penalty. They went for a pit stop, and that happened. So both the guys are right, but for a team that was not supposed to be where they are and experiencing troubles or a tough weekend in that one side of the garage, I think they did manage it pretty well. I mean, this is the first race that Alonso has not scored points in, if I'm not mistaken. So if it happens again, Dirk, I think if it happens on another circuit again, where they don't take the learnings from Singapore and they continue maybe racing and whatever, wasting their resources, then we can say, look, why are they doing that?
Yeah.
But for the season so far, this is the first time, and let's let them learn. And for the next race, if they continue doing that, then we can criticize them and be like, guys, what are you doing? Why are you still running Alonso?
Yeah.
DNF the car, But yeah, I get where you guys coming from.
Cool. Okay, cool. That's it for Aston Martin. And then let's just run through quickly the rest. I've just got a few more notes here with one question to ask. These notes are as follows. So, I don't know if you guys agree. Before he DNF'd, Ocon was really doing well, and there was some really good wheel-to-wheel action there. I'm not a big Ocon fan. I never have really been. I've never really seen him. I've never really like I've never really seen the special in him. People talk about this special guy. I've never really seen it. I mean, I know he won that one race in Hungary, but I mean, it was circumstantial as well. I've just never seen that special driver in him. But the wheel-to-wheel racing was impeccable, and you're talking about a track that literally has walls on the outside. Like, there's no runoff space; it's just walls. And then he decides that today's the day to do some wheel-to-wheel racing, and it was really, really great, world class. And I mean that one thing with, I mean, you talk about Perez and Alonso. He had wheel-to-wheel racing with Perez and Alonso and took both of them. I mean, that's one of the greatest drivers of all time, and one of the drivers who is known to be extremely good. I mean, you say what you want about Perez, but he has got a good reputation for being a really good driver.
And a good defender specifically.
So Ocon impressed me before he DNF'd, and had he not DNF'd, I think he was on for some really serious points this weekend. If I'm not mistaken, he was in 5th or 6th when he DNF'd, and he was going pretty quick. So well done to him. Gasly did pick up the points for Gasly. Gasly picked up the points for Alpine. So all in all, it wasn't all that bad for them, except that they could have had double points. The other thing is Logan Sargent is quickly becoming the next Latifi. This is one of the two questions. One of the two questions I have for you guys, and we can keep this quick and short. Should they get rid of him? I know it's only been his first year, and I know it's usually a Red Bull approach, but we've got Schumacher there, we've got F2, we've got Porsche, we've got F2 races that are waiting. They're in a title fight. There's a title fight between 3 or 4 drivers, and each one of them will deserve a space in this. Each one of them, if they're in that title fight, each one of them deserve to be above Logan Sargent, in my opinion. So, I mean, Albon is wiping the floor with him as well. So, should they get rid of him? Should they give one of the F2 guys a chance, or at least Schumacher?
Dirk, please answer for both of us, because I'm probably going to say yes. Not for Schumacher. I have another situation, but Dirk, you can go.
Okay. And Graham, with the whole Stroll Sargent Latifi thing, I just tried to get a little bit of a reaction out of you, like you did with BT earlier, and I got you. So my personal opinion, and Williams gave Latifi 2 seasons, and Latifi got trounced both seasons. I honestly feel Logan Sargent has got a lot more potential than Nicholas Latifi. No disrespect to Latifi. Brilliant driver, but not for Formula 1.
No, now you're lying. He's not a brilliant driver.
But Logan Sargent, his F2 career was really impressive. In other formulas and other disciplines, he has been impressive. I personally feel he's got a lot more potential. And just like Alpha Tauri did with Yuki, And just like Williams did with Latifi, who Sargent replaced, give him one more season. If he keeps being the Latifi version, then get rid of him.
Yeah.
But I personally don't agree with the fact that you should just have a Red Bull approach, boot him out, and put someone like Porsche in the seat. Give him a proper chance. A rookie season is already a very tough thing to conquer on its own.
Yep.
Yeah.
Dirk,
Makes sense.
I was in the same boat where you are. Keep him for the next season. See how he looks next season. And I think Formula One has no choice but to keep him because they need that US market, and he's American. And they're trying to make money out of the US market. And we know Americans will spend money. They love sports and all that type of thing. And Formula One is thriving in America at the moment. I mean, they have 2 races already.
Yeah.
And the Las Vegas one has been marketed like.
They've got 3. They've got more than 2 races.
Fantastic. Sorry?
They've got more than 2 races. They got Miami, Vegas, and Kota.
Oh yeah, of course, yes. Sorry, yeah. But I saw the Las Vegas how it's gonna look. It looks brilliant. So you might as well keep him for the American market to keep those people happy and they potential investors in Formula One. And he does have potential. Maybe he's just it's his rookie year, maybe. And let's see what he does next year.
Cool. But I gotta say, you talking absolute smack there, BT, because you said just now that you were gonna say yes, and now all of a sudden, you are on the same page as Dirk. Anyways, I'm not gonna
wait.
Hang on. Wait, you had your turn.
Yes, I'm in the same boat as Dirk. But my ideal situation, if they would get rid of him, bring Bottas back.
Yeah, I don't know about that one. Maybe that's probably not a bad call. That's not a bad call. Maybe. And then Porsche can go to Sauber because Porsche is Porsche not a Sauber driver?
Ferrari Junior. Yes.
Yeah, Ferrari Junior.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. Cool. So, all jokes aside, BT, you did add a good point there. I'm not gonna lie. I'm quite a fan of the Red Bull approach. I think there's no space in F1 for delinquents and so on. So, anyways, and I was just joking about Latifi not being a brilliant driver. I couldn't do better. Like, let's be real.
Don't lie.
Cool. Okay. Cool. Guys, we need to get through this. Next one, the final one of the actual race review before we finish off with the fun little segments. Lawson got the highest finishing points for AlphaTauri. So well done to Lawson. Really, really well done to Lawson.
Take a bow.
What do AlphaTauri do now? I've got a funny feeling nothing. I feel that it's still going to be Ricciardo and Yuki Tsunoda for next year. And that's fun. That's okay. But I must say that he's definitely put his hands up, and if there is seats available, if Williams are getting rid of Logan, I think that Sargent has put his hand up to say he's ready. Personally, Yuki is not looking great now, because Ricciardo and Lawson have both gotten the better of him now. So all of a sudden, when Yuki was looking like an absolute king against De Vries, he's not looking so great now. Personally, a Lawson-Ricciardo team would have probably sounds like the better option. But I don't think they'll do that. I think Ricciardo and Yuki is set already in stone. They've just got to make it official. My question to you guys is, what do you guys think they do, or what do you guys think they should do? Let's keep it to a minute apiece so that I can get a nice clip from you guys each. So Dirk, you go first.
Oh, okay. Wanted to give VT a chance. Okay, minute. I personally feel after this weekend, and it might be a little bit out there, and again, it's a bit controversial, but I think Yuki lost his seat this weekend. I honestly think Yuki lost his seat this weekend. He was trounced by Lawson, qualifying, practice, and the place where points and money is earned in the race on Sunday.
Yeah.
Ricciardo is too much loved by the Red Bull family, especially Helmut Marko and Christian Horner. I don't think they'll just let Ricardo go, especially after his chance was basically stolen from him by an accident. But I think personally, Yuki Ricardo, as soon as Ricardo comes back, we'll finish the season. And at the end of the year, next year, just before the season starts, we're going to get a breaking news: Liam Lawson to replace Yuki Tsunoda at the AlphaTauri's name is going to be next year.
Yeah.
But I personally feel Yuki lost his seat this weekend because Lawson is really showing that Yuki isn't as worthy of being hyped up as he has been this year, because the Freak was useless. With all due respect.
Yeah. I think it's safe to say that Ricardo is definitely given to that seat is given to him, and I think the reason for it is the marketability. He's a very marketable character. They're looking for new sponsors. They're looking for a new title name. They're looking for a lot of things that someone like Ricardo would be the marketable character in that team. So I think it's safe to say that he's definitely getting a seat. So it's pretty much between Yuki and Lawson. And I don't know. I think Yuki will get it just simply because he hasn't been atrocious at all. But Lawson is definitely giving him a scare, that I can tell. BT, do you have anything to add?
I don't know. It's a two-part question. Are we talking about what happens in the next few races, or are we talking about what happened in the
what do they do now for next season? They've now got 3 drivers with 2 seats, and they've got 3 drivers that are quite willing to be there. So they've got 2 seats available. What should they do? Or what do you think they're going to do?
For next season, I'm with Dirk. For next season, swap Ricardo around with Yuki. Yuki goes to Red Bull as the reserve driver.
Yeah.
Ricardo AlphaTauri with Lawson. For the rest of the season now, the rest of the races, that is a tough one. And I wanted to answer this question, like, what does AlphaTauri do now? Does Daniel go back to the seat and continue racing? Or does Lawson carry for the rest of the season? I don't know. I'm not choosing anyone.
I'll answer that question.
AlphaTauri has a really tough decision in terms of what they do next. And I'm not saying this because I don't highly rate Daniel or anything like that. But now it's a case of the driver's mojo. We're seeing Lawson now. He's getting to a groove. He's getting to a groove now. And do they want to continue with that groove and potentially try to steal some points? Not saying Danny won't do it, but Danny has come from an injury, so it might take him some time to get back to the groove. You know, so that's the type of question I'm asking myself.
I would personally say that keep Lawson there for the rest of the season, and then and I know this is a bit controversial now because Yuki hasn't really done anything completely wrong, but keep Lawson there, and then maybe for the last 3 or 4 races, put Ricardo in for Yuki and see what Ricardo, because obviously the thing is they'll need to see if Ricardo can, I mean, considering he's broken his hand, they'll have to give him time in the car. They have to give him that time. You have to they can't just leave him and then throw him in next year hoping that he's recovered. Do you know what I mean? They have to see. So they have to give him some race time, but I do agree with you that Lawson should carry on for the rest of the year because he's in that rhythm now. Cool.
Agreed.
Right. Okay, guys. Let's run through. By the way, that is the end of the race review. So we're gonna just quickly run into the moment of the week, the blooper of the week, and then our predictions, and then that's that. So
our rating.
Yeah, and our rating. So okay, BT, I'm gonna let you start with your moment of the weekend. Please give me your moment of the weekend, sir.
Moment of the weekend is when I ask Grandma a Zulu question. Oh no, sorry.
Stupid question as well. Anyways, carry on.
Moment of the weekend, guys, to be honest with you, is the ballsy one. Is when Mercedes went for the second pit stop. That was my moment of the week. That's when I saw
the double stack.
Yeah. Yes, when they put it for the second time for the medians again, and they went chasing for the win.
Yeah.
It was a gutsy move. it was the move that kind of saved the race itself, to be honest.
Yeah,
with
because
you,
it kept the
because
last
became
15 laps
exciting
were
after
mad.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's my move of the week. When I was watching the race, I was still in bed, and my hands were on my head for the 15 laps. This was me the whole time doing those laps, and I could see like George was catching up. I'm like, oh god, he's
I
coming.
gotta
He's
say,
coming. So that's
I'm
my
usually like this as well. I'm usually like this as well when I'm lying in bed. Like I'm kind of just
okay, we get
okay.
it. We get it.
Dirk, can you give me a moment of the weekend, please?
My moment of the weekend is Lando Norris's defense against George Russell in that second and third sector. If like
Yeah.
obviously a moment is something quick, like BTU chose the pit stops and what it brought out. But for me, okay, obviously the tires were a bit fresher still, but Mercedes embarrassed Leclerc. Within a lap, both cars got
Yeah.
passed.
Bruh.
Leclerc did everything he could, but his tires were shot. There's nothing that Charles could have done.
Yeah.
But besides the fact that Lando had DRS, George had such a good switchback coming out of that hairpin. And Norris made sure to, like every little detail that goes into that car, the amount of power appliance to avoid wheel spin with worn tires, the movements he made without being dangerous to make sure he kept P2 from George. That 20 seconds of defense for me was by far the moment of the weekend.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Cool. My moment of the weekend was the science poll. And the reason is pretty simple. That poll set him up. I really don't I hand on heart genuinely do not believe that Ferrari had the fastest car this weekend. But that poll set Sainz up, and that's what made the difference this weekend. I think you guys were spot on earlier with the whole sacrificial lamb. Had Sainz had Leclerc got pole, Sainz would have been that sacrificial lamb. And so for me, that pole set him up. So the Sainz pole was the moment of the weekend because that set up an amazing race. It set us up to witness some of the most ridiculous high IQ plays that I've seen in the sport. And yeah, I can't. There's not much more words that I need to put about that. So let's just move on to blooper of the week, and I'm gonna start with a question. Do I really need to say it?
Yes.
Like Lance Stroll, guys, come on, and I know you guys are probably thinking I should say Red Bull, but Red Bull didn't do that bad. Like if you consider the shocking weekend they had. Max still came fifth, guys. It's really not that bad. But Lance Stroll didn't even start the race. That's how bad it was for them. And then I say Lance Stroll. I think actually Aston Martin in general, because even Alonso had a shocker and the team had a shocker.
Nah, that's a bit too harsh, Graham. But I understand.
What do you mean that's harsh? Alonso, what do you mean that's harsh? Bro, Alonso didn't come into the pits correctly. He went over the line, caused a penalty. He then got a penalty. They then had a slow pit stop because they were doing some stupid things. Then, after he had new tires, he ran off the road. Like, he had an absolute shocker. That was one of Alonso's worst performances that I've seen in ages. Like,
the first time I see Alonso.
Listen. Blooper, okay, blooper of the week, Aston Martin in general, but the bigger one, Lance Stroll for real. So, Dirk, you can go up next with your blooper.
It's not supposed to be a blooper, but for the first time this weekend, it was very apparent to me. But it's something we've gotten used to. My blooper of the weekend just is Haas. Honestly, what is going on in that team? That car is so horrible on its tires. And literally, Magnussen got to Q3. And before lap 30, they were sitting in I think it was 16th and 17th. What?
It was bad.
Oh, no, they just don't have a race car, but they can qualify, but they just don't have a race car. No, not at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was my blooper of the weekend was Haas. I also wanted to
one.
say Aston Martin, but I want to be a bit different
Yeah.
now. But the Haas was also like really,
100%.
That,
Yeah, that
that's
was a good one.
actually.
Yeah, the thing is, they are one of those teams that they could basically be the blooper every weekend, because every weekend
Yeah.
they you know, especially Hulkenberg qualifies well and then ends up with Magnussen. So, and you know, those two, I swear those two are getting married soon, because have you ever noticed how they always seem to be next to each other in a race? Always. They always 16th and 17th, like always. Even if Hulkenberg starts 5th and Magnussen starts 15th, they still 15th and 16th, like at the end of the race. It's weird. Anyways, BT, blooper of the weekend, please.
Yo, you guys are putting shade on Haas. Anyway, um, my bloop of the week is, and I couldn't believe it. Like at some point, I was so annoyed. Is when while the drama is happening at the front, the most entertaining part of the race, they busy showing Max
Oh,
overtaking
mate.
flipping Lawson. Like, why
Mate.
you showing us? Why show Verstappen overtaking Lawson? We do not care.
Mate.
We do not care. Go back to the front. Go back to the front.
Mate.
Go back.
I gotta tell you
That was
this.
the most. It's like we both paid for that section of the race. They like went upstairs and asked, we know things are happening at the front, but can you please actually show Verstappen while he's overtaking Lawson? Why? We don't give a F in that particular sequence. We don't.
So
So that's my blooper of the weekend.
Can I tell
That
you
was a
something, man?
blooper.
Can I tell you something? I've got on my notes, I've got other notes. If there's time for me to mention them, I'd mention them. But obviously today we didn't have the time. But in that notes, its TV director was quite annoying at times. It was quite often. It happened quite often. Leclerc and Sainz, closer to the start of the race, were literally like 8/10 from each other. But they're showing like two back markers busy trying to pass each other. Like, come on, mate. Like, what is that? Has no significance to us at all. Anyways, that's it for blooper of the week. Well done, guys. All of us, I think, had some pretty decent ones there. And it's nice to see that we all had different ones, and it was quite good. So let's move over to the predictions now, Dirk. We haven't really taken your predictions because you weren't here last week.
No, I understand.
But BT, I'm going to just say you got 1 point and I got 0 points. That's basically what it is. You said Leclerc, Alonso, and Norris. Leclerc, obviously no. Alonso, definitely no. And Norris came second, so you got 1 point because he was one away. And then I just went Max, Alonso, Perez, which all of them failed to get even close. Cool. So
Graham really pooped the bed with that one.
I mean,
yeah, you did. Bro.
I mean, mate, I went with the safe option, and that was just, anyways. Guys,
Thanks for the.
so yeah, okay, so okay, Dirk. So seeing as we didn't have points for you, can you give us your Suzuka podium prediction?
Okay, we all know Red Bull's going to be back. It's the engine provider's home track, so I'm going to go very safe. Verstappen, Perez, and I think Leclerc's going to bounce back after Sainz has been giving him some troubles. Leclerc P3.
Wow. Okay. I'm not gonna lie. Mine was exactly the same as that. So I'm going to give it some thought, and I'm going to change mine after BT has gone, because I'm thinking I don't want to have the same as yours.
Mine is Max, Leclerc, and Sainz.
Oh, double Ferrari. Ooh, okay.
Max,
Well done.
Leclerc,
Thank you, sir.
Sainz.
And I'm buying Ferrari jacket in the end of the month. I saw one in Takealot. Gonna get myself one. I'm happy about that. It cost about 2,000 rand. I've been saving, so
Yeah, but you.
hopefully I'll be
Yeah,
able
but
to.
you must be a real Ferrari supporter now and get the one with Sainz's name on the back.
Yeah, you think you're funny.
I know I'm funny. Okay. I'm gonna go a little bit different now, considering that I had the same as you, Dirk. I'm gonna go Max, Leclerc, and Norris. I'm a little bit I'm a little bit scared to leave Perez out because I actually do think that Perez started getting to grips with that car before this weekend, but the car in general was a problem. So I really did want to go Perez second, but hey, it's just the fun of the game. So I'm gonna go Max, Leclerc, and Norris. Cool.
Yeah, I think you choosing Norris is a safe bet because I think the McLarens are going to do very well in that circuit.
Yeah, nice,
So,
quick
something to
circuit.
watch,
Yeah.
basically.
Cool, guys. So that is it. That is the podcast done. That is the race review done. Only 2 hours. Only 2 hours. If you are still here, thank you so much because 2 hours of your time just sounds like not much, really. It actually sounds like it's not a lot of time, and I really appreciate that little bit of time that you've taken out of your day. And if you're still here, please click that subscribe button. We really would appreciate it. Like it, share it, let your friends know that we exist, and give us a 5-star rating if you're on Spotify. So thank you so much for watching. We're going to end off with rate your race or rate the race. We'll go from left to right to left. I don't know, actually. Right to left. So Dirk, BT, then myself. Okay, cool. So we'll go out of 10, rate the race, Dirk, BT, and Graham. Dirk, you start.
Okay, I know the last time we did this, I angered you a lot, but this race for me was definitely better than Zandvoort. So Singapore, 8.5 out of 10.
Oh, Dirk, you're killing me.
Yo.
I'm a harsh critic. I know what I like to see in a Grand Prix to give it a 10. It needs to be perfect.
I don't know if you saw my head drop the moment you said better than Zandvoort, but in any case. You said better than Zandvoort and then you gave it an 8.5. I don't know if you remember, but I think I gave Zandvoort a 10 out of 10. I then also gave Monza a 9 out of 10. Anyways, BT, rate the race, please.
I'm so scared. Like, I'm so nervous after what Dirk said. Oh, what the hell? I'm going to say 10 out of 10, bro. I'm going to say 10 out of 10. Listen, to add on to that, I was extremely entertained, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I was.
Cool, guys. Appreciate it. Love your to be fair, Dirk wasn't far off from me, but obviously I gave Zandvoort a 10. So but I went for an 8. Wasn't an 8.5 exactly. I went for an 8. Great race. An 8 is still really good. The reason I went for an 8 and not a 9 or a 10 is just simply because it wasn't as good as Monza or Zandvoort to me. But then again, I was also watching the rugby. I had 2 TVs in front of me. Long story for another day. Anyways, I did enjoy the race. 8 out of 10 for me. That is it. That is us. We will see you guys again later this week. And then for Suzuka race review. So cheers, guys. Thank you so much for watching and have a really good night, day, whatever, wherever you are, whatever time it is. Cheers. Bye.
Bye.